Thanks to games like SSX, snowboarding has sort of seen a resurgence in the gaming world. Developers are trying to sort of capture the same audiences that SSX captured without, basically just ripping off the entire SSX formula. THQ's Dark Summit is basically an example of the experimentation that developers are taking with the snowboarding genre. It basically takes the regular snowboarding trick system and blends it with the objective system of Tony Hawk. The biggest difference between Dark Summit and other snowboarding games is the fact that it actually uses a storyline in order to explain what's going on in the game. Basically what happens is this mountain that you're snowboarding on is basically sort of an Area 51 style place where the military has taken over and they're trying to keep all the snowboarders and skiers out. So you're sent in there as an operative to basically find out what's going on there. And fortunately for you, there's a mole inside the military that will give you information at all these various checkpoints. These checkpoints basically serve as the challenge system of the whole game. You'll go to them and the mole in the military will basically tell you what's going on, and he'll tell you what you need to do in order to get more points to move on to new areas of the track. For example, you go into one checkpoint, he'll tell you need to do 5 different types of grabs. Or if you go into another checkpoint, he'll tell you need to avoid this skier that's coming down the mountain. There's actually quite a variety of different challenges, and none of them really overlap or anything, so you'll be doing something different almost every time. The trick system in the game is really easy to use. There's just basic grinds, there's grabs, and there's manuals. There's also special moves which you can execute by pressing just different button combinations, which is kind of similar to Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. There's a lot going on in all the tracks. I mean, there's a lot of different objects. There's snow blowers, there's towers, there's large vats of acid or some other liquid that you have to jump over. So there's really a lot going on. But there's nothing in the game that really looks spectacular. The character models are about on par with other snowboarding games like SSX, and the environments themselves, while they're solid, there's nothing really in there that just makes you say, wow, that's really cool. To Dark Summit's credit, the game actually manages to maintain a really smooth frame rate throughout most of the game. I mean, rarely does it ever slow down, even when there's just a ton of objects on the screen, which actually occurs quite often. As far as sound goes, music in the game is it fits parts of the games well. Like one of your objectives is you'll have to avoid the ski patrol, and then the music changes accordingly to give it, it fits with the fast pace of the game. But the rest of it, it's got kind of this weird retro techno sound, and it really doesn't work. It sort of just kind of bogs down. It doesn't really fit well with the game. One of the major problems with the game actually is the fact that the tracks are just so large that it can be difficult to find some of the checkpoint areas, especially when you've completed the majority of them on one of the 4 tracks. There's so many shortcuts and different small hidden areas that it'll seem like you've exhausted every possible avenue before you accidentally stumble onto one of the last checkpoints. Overall, Dark Summit does everything well, but it doesn't do anything really spectacularly. I mean, it's got solid visuals, it's got decent control, and a trick system that's really easy to get into, so people who are new to the snowboarding genre won't have any trouble just jumping right in. But again, it just doesn't do anything spectacular, but it's still definitely worth a rental, if not a purchase.